Hello and welcome. My name is Jody Scholes. I am your instructor for the MBLEx review course. Welcome. Today we are talking about ethics, boundaries, laws, and regulations. And did you realize that 31% of your MBLEx is not about massage, about hands-on techniques? Did you realize that it is about guidelines to a professional practice and ethics, boundaries, laws, and regulations? Two categories make up 31% of your MBLEx. That's 3 out of 10 questions. So that's why we're studying it. That's why we've got a couple classes dedicated in our 8-week cycle to this particular category, these two categories. So our class goes down in 3 parts. The first part is going to be a test-taking strategy. The second part is a bunch of learning. And then the third part is dissecting questions. That's right, dissecting questions, techniques that you're going to be able to apply directly to your MBLEx. And so let's begin with a test-taking strategy. And the test-taking strategy applies for when you're doing your practice exams. So everybody in our community takes practice exams. And those practice exams are in the online learning center. So things are maybe just a little confusing when you get started. So I like to kind of walk you through that. Patreon is where we communicate. It's where I put up motivation. It's where I put up the links to these classes. Patreon is our communication tool. Your learning happens in the online learning center. That's that URL address of the business of bodywork. So you get your username and password and you log into the online learning center. You click a few links or click a few buttons and you get to your practice exam. Yeah, so getting to your practice exam. Now that practice exam can be taken in 2 different ways. And I'd like you to decide, depending on where you are with your studying, how you're going to approach the practice exam. So the very first time you take a practice exam, I would love it if you just went straight through, finished in under 2 hours, and got a result. That is simulating the MBLEx. Yeah. So if you know you're taking, like one of our members here, I won't say who, but is taking their MBLEx next week. They know the day, they know the time. So what you can do is take that time of day, say it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you can sit down to take your practice exam. Yeah. So you're simulating the day, the time, what you'll be wearing. It's really simulating, pretending you're actually taking the MBLEx. Yeah, yeah. So that's one way to approach your MBLEx, your practice exam, if you're pretending that you're taking the MBLEx, right? The other way, the second way, is to learn what you don't know, you don't know. Yes. So by going through, planning on more than 2 hours, figuring out what you don't know, and looking it up. Miss Juvie, we have someone in the waiting room. Thank you. So going through that MBLEx exam, that practice MBLEx exam, and when you get stuck on a question, Google it. Look it up in your book. It's not cheating, it's learning. Yeah, and it's one way you can do meaningful homework. And now and then you'll hear me talk about meaningful homework. And that's my test-taking strategy for you today. Approach the practice exam in an intentional way. an intentional way, meaning either simulating the MBLEx or knowing that you're going in there to make some notes and to do a deeper dive on these questions that maybe trip you up, finding the right answers. So, and just so you know that with the practice exam, at the very end, when you click submit on that last question, there's a screen that pops up, gives you your score. If you score more than 50%, good job. More than 60%, you're getting there. More than 70%, you pass. But before you click any more buttons, you have two that I'd like you to choose from. One says review test. Two says continue. Now, I don't know why it says continue. I didn't make that one. I can't change it. But what I'd like you to do is review your test. And you can save a copy of your test. Now, if you are at the $49 level or higher, you can request from me a copy of your practice exam, and I will give you at least 3 pieces of feedback on some of those questions. So at least 3 comments that say, okay, go ahead and study the benefits of massage, mechanical versus reflexive. Do a deeper dive. Go back and study that again. Go ahead and learn the joints. Learn your 6 joints that you need to know. So I'll give you feedback on that exam if you're at that $49 level or higher. So that is my test taking strategy for you today. Do meaningful homework as you complete that practice exam. So set that practice exam at the same time, the same day as you're going to take your MBLEx. Now, what if you don't know what time you're taking your MBLEx? Well, that's okay. You can make an appointment with yourself. Each week, you make an appointment with yourself. You put it in your calendar. You put it in your day timer. You put it in your phone that you have this appointment with yourself each and every week, same day, same time, to study. Yes, to study. Good. You're starting to get the idea, right? That when you make this a consistent habit, when you have an appointment with yourself, that you study more consistently and more effectively. All right, speaking of studying, ready to tackle some ethics? Excellent. Okay, here we go. Welcome to the MBLEx Review course. This is the section on ethics, boundaries, laws, and regulations. As we go through this stuff, it's so normal. It's absolutely normal. Almost every class it happens. Someone says in the chat, oh my gosh, I did not learn this in massage school. That's okay. That's okay. You might not have been in class that day. You might have been at the bathroom that day. They may not have taught it that day. Yeah. So that's okay. That's why we're reviewing it now. And that's the purpose of you being here, right? So that you can thoroughly review everything that's going to be on the MBLEx. And we know what's on the MBLEx. Well, we know the categories of what's on the MBLEx because we have the Federation's content outline. And that's where these classes are built from the content outline. Here's what we're going to be covering today. We're going to be talking about standards of practice. There's 6 of them. Standards of practice. We're going to compare it to the scope of practice because it's not the same thing. And then we're going to be talking about the Code of Ethics from both the AMTA and the NCB-TMB. So these are the foundational principles that you'll need to know to answer your ethics questions. So I mentioned standards of practice. How boring, right? Well, no, not really. Standards are these guidelines that we use to determine what's competent. This standard is competent. This benchmark, this level this level of care, this degree of excellence. And this is why we pass the MBLEx. Even though I think it's more than an entry-level exam, it's a benchmark. It's a standard. Once you pass it, you're going to feel great. You are going to feel amazing. Yeah. So all of the standards that we're about to discuss, that we're about to review, give you a guide to the knowledge, the skills, the point of view, the attitudes that are needed to protect the public, to practice safely. And these are 6 standards you need to know. So let's go over them. So standard number 1 is professionalism. Ooh, professionalism. Now, you can read the slide, but professionalism is excellence, is your form of excellence. Now, we all have an opinion about what's professional. When you go to a restaurant, you have an opinion about how to be treated professionally, the level, the standard that you're expecting. You're expecting your host or your server to be dressed a certain way. You're expecting the food to look a certain way on the plate. That's a part of professionalism. And so just like that, your clients are expecting that you are going to look a certain way. You are going to be talking to them in a certain way. Now, we are careful to use more common language with our clients versus medical terminology or jargon. We're not going to be saying, oh, I'm going to work your QL. Your client's probably not, unless they're a nurse or a doctor, they probably aren't going to know what that means. And so using proper language, professional language, but not jargon, not medical terminology. Being polite, taking a shower, having a change of clothes. Look, you never know when the AC is going to go out, right? And I don't know about you, but I'm a sweater. So I have a clean shirt that's in the closet or in the car, that just in case it gets to be a warm day. Or if you're working an event, you can see here one of the pictures is a sports massage event. And that was actually me on the far, I guess it's on the far left. I'm the one in the black pants. Yeah. And at an event, you're most likely to get dirty. You're schlepping your table. Just taught a sports massage class, and we've got to be prepared for sweaty people or for getting an oil stain on your shirt. Yeah. So maintaining a professional appearance, maintaining a professional dialogue with your clients is part of your commitment to our profession. I want to pause here because I think we have a few people in the waiting room. Got one person in the waiting room, Judy. All right. Let's talk for a moment about this word, professionalism, because there are 3 forms of it that you may see: professional, professionalism, and profession. And we've been learning how to pull words apart, right, to understand their meaning. So professionalism is what we've just talked about. It's one of our standards of practice. But you are going to be a licensed healthcare professional. A professional is a person. You are, as a professional, you have a job, right? And your job is your profession. Now, if you speak English as a second language, I am sorry. I should have a slide for this, so we see all 3 words. But if you look here, the profession is the first part of the word, ends here at the end. The profession is the job. The professional is the person. You're a licensed healthcare professional. And professionalism is our standard of practice. It is how we show up in representing massage therapy, your professionalism. And I am expecting, especially after taking my classes, that you are going to have a degree of excellence in your professionalism. All right, let's move on. Our second standard of practice is our legal and ethical requirements. So we're leaving professionalism behind. We're moving to the next standard. We have an expectation, a standard of practice, that we are going to know all the legal and ethical requirements of our job, of being a massage therapist. And so massage therapists have to comply with all of their legal requirements. That could be, you have to pass the MBLEx. That's for your state and for almost every state in the nation. You may have a county requirement. You may have a town requirement. You may have a city requirement. Yeah. So all of these, you've got to find out for your zip code where you're practicing. So, for example, in Florida, they have rules about a home-based practice. Yeah. So if you're having a home-based practice, look into those laws. Now, for the purposes of the MBLEx, if it says you can't practice at home, then for the purposes of the MBLEx, you don't practice at home, right? Yeah. So let's take a look at the map. And so does your state issue a license or a certification? We see here a picture of Canada. And in Canada, they are called registered massage therapists. And did you know that in Canada, it's 2,000 hours of education to become a massage therapist? Yeah, 2,000 hours. And it's covered by healthcare. Yeah, interesting, eh? Right? Interesting, eh? Ha, ha, ha. So here you'll see that Minnesota, Wyoming, and Kansas, and Vermont have no regulations right now. Kansas is moving towards it as a state. However, Minnesota and Wyoming have many jurisdictions that do require a license or a certification. Likewise, California just recently stopped requiring the MBLEx. You can get licensed in California by passing the MBLEx, but you can also get licensed in California without passing it. So these laws and regulations change quite often. And it's your responsibility, your responsibility to find out for your zip code, what are your legal and ethical requirements? What are your legal requirements as far as having a license, sometimes, you're licensed to practice massage. When I started practicing massage, I had my county license, I had my state license, I had passed the national certification exam, I've passed the MBLEx. I'm good to go, right? Nope, I wasn't. I had all my professional licenses, but I did not have a business license. And the town that I was practicing in, I needed a business license. How was I supposed to know? At the end of the day, it was still my responsibility. I was practicing illegally for 30 days. Yeah, and I didn't even know it. So again, it comes back to you and you knowing. But that's our standard of practice. And they make it super clear. I'm licensed in the state of Florida, Virginia, and New Hampshire. They make it super clear in the state of Florida, you'll be fined. Doesn't matter if you didn't know. You will be fined if you are found practicing without a license or in an illegal manner. So let's take a look. This is the number of massage therapists. This is in 2021, but this is the most recent stat I could find. And you can see there's high concentrations. Highest concentration actually is in Florida, actually has the most massage therapists. And this came from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. But where will you be working? Yes. Juvie, we have one person in the waiting room. Thank you. All right, let's move along to our third standard of practice. Confidentiality. Confidentiality means that you will keep all information about your clients confidential, including that they're clients. Yeah. So not only do we not discuss their medical history, or do we share their primary concerns, why they're getting massage, we don't even acknowledge they're a client. Yeah, I had a client just yesterday say, "Oh, say hi to your mom for me." And I said, "Well, I can, but normally I don't. I don't transfer messages like that because I keep my clients' visits confidential." And he said, "Oh, there's no shame in getting massage." And I said, "That's great." He goes, "I feel very open about getting massage. I tell everybody about massage." And that's lovely. So I had permission from that client to pass along a message. But do you see how I handled it? I said, normally I don't. Normally I wouldn't even mention that you were here. He said, "While you're at it, tell your brother I said hi." Okay. Now, confidentiality is also safeguarded by HIPAA. So you will need to know that HIPAA stands for the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. So it is not the hippopotamus, right? It's not HIPPA, it's HIPAA. So HIPAA, Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. And what that says is that you cannot share your client records without a release form, a health information release form. Now, when your client signs their health intake form, that is not a release form. That is them signing their health intake form to say that everything they've told you is true. Now, on my health intake form, I also put just a little blurb about my about 24-hour cancellation policy. Little sneaking in and out policy there. But confidentiality, coming back to that is not, when they sign their health intake form, that's not a release form. You need a separate form for that. Yeah. So if someone, says, "Oh, would you please send my records," your client says, "Hey, would you send my records, to my chiropractor or to my surgeon?" You can, but they need to sign a medical release form. And there are plenty of those standard forms you can find by Googling them. And if you need one, send me a message. I'm happy to send you the resource. I have so many resources, you guys, that very soon, actually at the end of this month, I'm launching continuing education practice management, the fundamentals of practice management. I'm so excited to share these with you because, like all these forms, you need a minor waiver form, you need a pregnancy form, you need this medical records release form, all these different forms. Why do you need to invent them? You don't need to invent them. I have resources for you. You can find them easily on Google as well. So including a health intake form, both AMTA, ABMP, and many people have made their health intake forms available for you. So use them. Yes, I know it takes longer. Doesn't matter. Use them. Found out a guy had a knee replacement earlier in the week. He never told me. It was on his health release form. His health intake form. Yeah. All right. But it was confidential, right? Next standard of practice. Standard number 4, business practices. Now, I teach a whole class on guidelines to a professional practice, and we dive deeper into your best business practices. It's actually one of my favorite topics. I have 5 online videos about building a solid foundation in your business. That's why I'm doing continuing education on the fundamentals of practice management. But let's look at what you need to know for the MBLEx. So you got to operate with honesty, integrity, follow the laws, but business practices. Here is what is listed verbatim from the standards of practice, the NCB, TMB standards of practice. Make sure that your physical setting, your office, the room in your space is safe. Safe for you, safe for your client. Maintain liability insurance. You need liability insurance. Right now, you need liability insurance. Yeah. And you can qualify in that in-between place. Technically, you don't have to have it, but I'm hoping that you're practicing right now with your friends and family. Maybe you're even accepting tips. Now, according to the MBLEx, you are not allowed to practice and get paid until you are licensed. Okay? But maintaining adequate liability insurance is a great practice. You can become what's called a graduate member. So in Florida, they have graduate members. They have the Florida State Massage Therapy Association has school membership. The Florida State Massage Therapy Association also has professional membership, but then they have graduate membership and they have retired membership. So you would be in the graduate category. All right. So liability insurance. Maintain SOAP notes, progress notes for each session. Why is that a business practice and not a professionalism thing? Well, because it's part of your business. You may be dealing with other business professionals, doctors, chiropractors, doctors being orthopedic doctors, chiropractors, physical therapists. And so part of your best business practices is also to have continuity of care. I'm 30 years doing massage therapy, and I still do SOAP notes. Of course, I think I'll remember, but do I? No. I have one client. She does not like her feet touched. Every time she comes in, I look at her SOAP notes. I'm like, oh, that's right. She doesn't like her feet touched. Hello. I know. Depends how many clients you're seeing, but it's impossible to remember all the little details. SOAP notes help so much with that. All right, next bullet point. Display a clear schedule of fees. This is the best business practices. What are your fees? Have you ever worked with a client and they had no idea how much you charged? That's on you. Yeah. So we have to make our fees transparent. So a simple one-page website, even a brochure or a flyer, a brochure or a flyer. You can email them. You have a standard cut and paste email that you send to new clients. I did that this week, actually. And it goes over your policies. It also establishes, I was going to say a vibe to your session, but I'm trying to think of the word. The setting. It establishes your professionalism. Yeah. Before you ever even see the client, before you ever even meet the client, they know your fees. They know your policies. In my cut and paste email that I send to new clients, it says, please plan on spending up to 90 minutes with me, even for your 60-minute appointment, because I have a policy of 60 minutes of table time. Yes, 60 minutes of massage time. So the time we talk before, especially with a new client, they're filling out paperwork, right? That can take 20 minutes. Not the paperwork and the chit chat. It depends how much health history they have. So be clear with your fees and the timing. This is a part of your business practices, your best business practices. Additionally, you'll make clear financial arrangements that they're going to pay either before, after, if they're going to buy a package, if they can do that, but you understand how they're going to pay. I have one client who we have an arrangement. She Venmos me. She leaves here. She never even asks. About usually 3 hours later, $175 shows up in my Venmo account. So, but that is established between us. We've been clear about that. Follow acceptable accounting principles, file all your taxes, maintain financial records. This is the time, guys. My hope, my knowing, not my hope, I know that you're going to be making gobs of money at this. And so having sound financial practices that you're going to pay all your taxes. Now, according to the MBLEx, you will claim 100% of your tips, right? Okay. You may be asking, why are there kittens on this page? Well, this stuff is pretty boring and kittens are cute. So that's why there are kittens on this page. All right. Few terms that go along with your best business practices that you may need to know. Copyright, copyright infringement, intellectual property. So copyrights protect a person's work, their words, their ideas. And so something gets copyrighted, it's registered that it belongs to someone else. It belongs to this person. A copyright infringement is when you cut and paste other people's words and claim they're your own. Or if you put music, say you want to do a TikTok video that talks about you passing the MBLEx. Well, you've seen this, right? You have to use approved music. Why do you have to use approved music? Because otherwise it would be a copyright infringement for the musician, the artist who produced it. Intellectual property is just like it sounds. It's the ideas, and those are protected as well. And so books and art and photography, that is the intellectual property of the person who owns it, the person who created it. And so we can't just use that stuff. You can't just cut and paste a picture from the internet. How many of you guys already know this? There are free sites that I will list in the show notes, that I will list in the description, because they're leaving my head right now. Pixabay.com, but I'll put them in the notes, where you can go to get free images. And you can buy images. There's all sorts of places you can buy images. And so if you're going to have an image that is a part of your brand, if you're going to have images when you write a blog, many of you receive my newsletter, the Pep Talk. It's coming out later this week. And if you want to receive that Pep Talk, feel free to sign up or let me know. All of you guys in Patreon get it. But if you're watching this later and you want it, put your name, there'll be a link. But in my Pep Talks, in my blog, in my newsletter, those pictures that are there, I've purchased. I've paid $2, $3, $4 for a photo. And that way I'm paying the artist, I'm paying the company that pays the artist, because that's their intellectual property. Let's also talk about business practices, the difference between employees and independent contractors. Many of you have been employees in the past, right? So you go to work, you punch a time clock, or you show up, they say, oh, be here at 10, you're going to work till 8. Or be here at 3, you're going to work till 9. Be here at 7:30, you're going to work till 3. That is an employee relationship. Your employer gives you hours, and you show up and you work for those hours. Now, the W-2 is a document that employees get in the first quarter of the tax year. So your year back to the W-2. So the W-2 is a document that you get as an employee, and it tells you how much you've earned. You usually get it around February, right? There's a deadline. I think it's March 31st. Yeah, probably before that. I'll have to look that up. Anyhow, you don't have to know that for the MBLEx. But you do need to know that as an employee, you get a W-2, and it tells you how much you've made. It also tells you how many taxes were taken out of your check, how much in taxes. Now, the beautiful thing about being an employee is that employers are required to match your Medicare and your Social Security. They're required to take it out of your check. We have to, as an employer, have to. But they have to match it. So you only pay half of what you would pay as an independent contractor. So, and you say, oh, but Jody, independent contractors, they get 100% of, the pay. Not always, as far as 100% of what they're being paid. So, oh, you're being paid $30 an hour. You get the whole $30. You still have to pay taxes on that. You're going to end up paying taxes on that. Oh, but I've got deductions. Well, how organized are you? Oh, I can deduct part of my car. I can deduct my gas. I can deduct my mileage. You can deduct mileage or gas. And there are standard deductions, usually around $500, for independent contractors. So independent contractors get a different tax form. They get a 1099. And the 1099 says how much you've made. So the W-2 says how much you've made, but how much has been taken out of your check, right? It tells you how much taxes have been taken out of your check. 1099 just says how much you've made. No taxes have been taken out. So that's the number that has been sent to the federal government and to your state government. They, as employers, or if you get a 1099, you got one copy, the federal government, Uncle Sam, got the other copy. So they know how much you've made. And they are expecting you to pay taxes on that independently. Now, for the first year, you do not have to pay quarterly taxes. It's recommended as an independent contractor that you do pay quarterly taxes. For the purposes of the MBLEx, it's a law that you pay quarterly taxes, just for the purposes of the MBLEx. Okay? All right. And independent contractors pay 100% of their Social Security and Medicare, obviously. I think that's all I wanted to say about that. For the MBLEx, obviously you pay all your taxes, you declare your tips, and you, of course, as an independent contractor, always file quarterly taxes. Let's take a quick look at business entities and the names of them, because this does come up on the MBLEx. We're diving a little deeper into Standard 5, the business practices, and we'll cover a little bit of this with guidelines to a professional practice, but I really want you to be familiar, because this is stuff they usually don't teach in massage school. So when you get your license to practice massage therapy, you are immediately a sole proprietor. You don't have to do anything. There's no state form to file. You are the sole proprietor. You are the one, the sole, the only, S-O-L-E, only, the sole proprietor. You are the business, right? And you claim your profits, you claim your income and your losses on your own tax return. Now and then, people will want to go into business together, and that's called a partnership. That's at least two people. It can be more than two people. I don't recommend partnerships because it always seems to be very uneven in the partnerships. So yeah, I don't recommend those at all. Let me see. I'm trying to make sure you can see my book here. There we go. All right, good. So partnerships are at least two people. And both partners are responsible for the taxes. Yeah. In a partnership, you are, with two people, sometimes it's 50-50, sometimes it's 41, 49, and 51. There are many tax advantages to having a minority-owned business. So if you are a sole proprietor and you're a minority-owned business. If you're in partnership, there are some tax advantages to having a woman, a minority, a veteran, someone with a disability or handicap, be the 51% owner. A few tax advantages there. But hopefully you won't have to worry about that because partnerships are really not the best way to go. Both partners need to file the Schedule K1 form. This literally has come up on the MBLEx, you guys. K1, okay, for partnerships, to report each individual's share. So just like you got a W-2, you're going to file that Schedule K1. You're not going to file it. Your accountant is going to file it. The Schedule K1 that tells the IRS how much each of you is responsible to pay. All right. So we'll leave it at that for now. Standard number 5. All right. Got 2 more to go. Standard number 5 is roles and boundaries. So the massage therapist adheres to your ethical boundaries and performs professional roles in which you are licensed to perform. So, and this safeguards the therapeutic relationship. This keeps that therapeutic relationship clean and clear. When we talk about roles and boundaries, I like to use this image for the boundary because there is a boundary between Argentina and Chile. Yeah, so those are 2 countries in South America, right at the bottom, Argentina and Chile. And there's a clear line, and there's usually a place where you have to present your passport, right? What are those buildings called that you have to drive through, and you go through the gate. If you know it, put it in the chat. Let me see. Got a few things in the chat. All right, if you know the name of that gate you go through when you go like to Canada or to Mexico, the border, you cross the border, right? Okay, so you cross the border, it came to me. The border is like the boundary. You don't cross the border in massage therapy. We have clear boundaries, you guys. Here's what I mean by that. So don't do massage if you've been drinking. Don't do massage if you've used illegal substances. So if you have a prescription that you take it. Use, whether it's, medical marijuana, whether it's an antidepressant, whether it's a pain reliever, that's all good. It's all good. Just, we're coming to this, we come to the treatment room with professionalism. And so, guys and gals, alcohol and drugs, that doesn't fly in the treatment room. Do your thing. If that's how you unwind, but don't bring it to the treatment room. Massage therapists also have the right to refuse treatment or to terminate a service with a client who they feel is under too much influence of something. And that's your own judgment call, right? So if they're under too much influence, it will really compromise the session. First of all, they could make comments that they don't really mean. I was going to say cheeky comments, but we're in a professional setting, so I will say sexual comments. They will say sexual things that they would have never said if they weren't drinking or drugging, right? Yeah. So you as the massage therapist, keep that treatment room sacred and safe. Yeah. And so you get to end a session very professionally. Session is done. We're done. Yeah. We'll take this up another time. It's just a few things happening that is going to make this session ineffective. There's some language around that that's very professional, that doesn't insult the client, but just says, look, this is going to be, you're going to receive a massage a lot better on a different day. Yeah, that's you keeping your treatment room safe. Couple of definitions here. Transference. Did you hear about transference in massage school? Yeah. Every now and then, a client will transfer some emotions, will transfer some feelings that they had for someone else onto you. Yeah. Because clients don't often get nurtured. Some clients, the only time they get touched is when it initiates sex. And so you're creating a space with safe, healthy touch. What a privilege. But now and then, some clients can get confused and they can feel like they're in love with you. Or, even actually, this particular term refers to childhood experiences or growing up experiences. And, clients can transfer those feelings. So you're in a position of authority in your treatment room. And that creates something called a power differential. And so at times, your clients have had really positive relationships with somebody in authority to them. Say their mom, their aunt, their teacher, someone growing up, their coach, and they can transfer those feelings onto you. We have to be very clear about this power differential and understand when that's happening and keep it in check. Let them do what they're doing. This is a legitimate thing that's happening. And yet we don't take advantage of it. Okay? Transference, when a client transfers emotions onto the therapist. Countertransference, when you, as the therapist, are transferring emotions to a client. Client walks in and they look just like your grandpa. Oh my God. Like, holy mackerel. Do you tell the client? It might blurt out your mouth, but that would not be professional. That wouldn't be using professionalism. Okay? So, client walks in, looks just like your grandpa. A grandpa who you liked. Or maybe a grandpa you didn't like. But you get your client settled as far as in the waiting room, or we pause. And the most professional thing to do would be go and have a moment. And be self-aware if this countertransference is happening. Because that man is not your grandpa, Although it's a nice reminder, right? And it could be, your grandpa as your angel, like reminding you that he loves you. But just be aware, self-aware, when we are transferring emotions, positive or negative, onto a client. Because if there's a strong emotion coming up while you're working with a client, not about the client. It's about you. Yeah. Yeah. So countertransference is when you as the therapist are transferring on to the client. Now we're right in the middle. We're about 85% through talking about our standards of practice, but I need to mention scope of practice because it has to do with roles and boundaries. So the scope of practice is what we are licensed to do. The scope. So if we had a telescope, right? It's what we can see in a telescope. It zooms in. So the scope of our practice, if you shoot guns or rifles, the scope is where you set your target. It's defines what we're allowed to do. We are not social workers. We're not therapists. We're not psychologists or psychiatrists. Although the way people share on the table, sometimes we feel that way. But it is not our job to give advice. It is not our job to diagnose. It is not our job to counsel. It's out of the scope of your practice. And this question does come up on the MBLEx. Yeah, on what we are licensed to do. We are not licensed to give dietary advice, nutrition advice. We're not licensed to suggest exercises. Technically, we're not, okay? Some people even find fault with telling a client they should drink water. For the MBLEx, if that question came up, I don't think that question would ever come up. But technically, we are not allowed to advise our client on what to eat or what to drink. So that's getting really nitty-gritty, but more so I want to speak to the counseling aspect, because some of your clients are going to need to talk to somebody. So meet some psychotherapists, meet some LCSWs. LCSW stands for Licensed Clinical Social Worker, and they're traditional therapists. Yeah, talk therapists. Find a few that are good and have them handy for when your client really needs to talk to somebody. Going through a divorce, they need to talk to somebody. The stigma of psychotherapy is long since past, and I would ask you to examine your own heart about your own feelings about psychotherapy, about people who go to counselors, people who go to talk therapy. In the past, there was this really negativity around it. No, it's healthy. You need to talk to somebody who doesn't know you, who's objective. Yeah. Yes, you can go to a pastor. You can go to a friend. Absolutely. But sometimes you need that objectivity. All right. So scope of practice is what we're licensed to do. Last practice, last standard of practice. Yay! Finish line in sight here. Okay. After this, we'll talk about, we'll dissect some questions. But standard number 6 is really easy. Prevention of sexual misconduct. Yeah. So massage therapists refrain from any behavior that sexualizes the massage. Do not touch breasts. Do not touch don't touch a penis. Don't touch genitals. Don't touch it. Yes, that sexualizes the massage. It is illegal. You can be put in jail. Yes. And in this principle, we also recognize the intimacy of the therapeutic relationship. And so there can be some confusion on the part of your client. I mentioned earlier with roles and boundaries, sometimes clients become really fond of you, and they may think they're in love with you. The AMTA has a standard that says you must wait 6 months. If you think that, you have met your soulmate and they are your client, they can't be your client anymore. You got to choose. Yeah, you got to choose. Now, if once you're in a relationship, you want to give that person a massage, that's a different story. They're paying you, making an appointment and paying you for a session. Warren Buffett says it takes 20 years, maybe 20 years, to build a reputation and 5 minutes to ruin it. So if you're feeling a certain kind of way about a client, check yourself before you wreck yourself. Don't do it. And all you have to do is Google massage and pressing charges, and boom, there are literally thousands of cases where clients press charges against their massage therapists. And if you are a male massage therapist, I will warn you, you need to be especially good at your draping. At your draping, you need to have a secure drape. This will build the trust with your female clients and your male clients. Guys get hit on, male massage therapists get hit on more than women. Yeah. All right. We are winding down our talk on ethics. Ethics are simply the principles that govern your behavior or a group's behavior. Every now and then you'll be asked a definition. So the NCB-TMB states their code of ethics, just as a generality, that, again, we're reviewing this, that basically all of these things mean that you are justified for the public trust. You are operating safely for the public. And this enhances that your actions enhance the reputation of massage therapists across the nation, across the world, and that you are committed to creating that safe space for your individual clients. Yeah. So far, this is some tough material, kind of boring, but worth it. Let's do this thing. First question. The quality of accepting the consequences of your actions and claiming responsibility for your decisions is called blank. We'll read the question again. It's great practice to read the question twice, at least twice. The quality of accepting the consequences of your actions and claiming responsibility for your decisions is called blank. A, integrity. B, accountability. C, moral high road. D, dual relationships. Ooh, we got answers coming in. Now, our test-taking strategy, while we dissect questions, is to eliminate one wrong answer. So we're going to go ahead and eliminate a wrong answer here. The quality of accepting the consequences of your actions and claiming responsibility for your decisions is not dual relationships, right? Dual relationships is when we know somebody outside of the treatment room, outside of being a client, either before or after. All right, let's take a look in our chat box and we'll see what we've got. I will answer all of your questions after class. I see some in there, yeah. Oh, very good. Let's see. CJ got it. Diane, yes. Brianne, yes. Jeffrey, hey, hi. Kadeem, hi. Yes, you got it. Sharita got it. Yeah. Christy, good. Marcia, yeah. Patience, yep. Petithia, yeah. Roxanne, hello. Ingrid got it. Brenda got it. Good, good. All right, ready? Best answer? Accountability. Yes, the quality of accepting the consequences of your actions and claiming responsibility for your decisions is called accountability. You are holding yourself accountable. Good, good. That is an ethical standard. Being accountable for your actions. Next question. When a client feels an emotional connection to the therapist, positive or negative, that has nothing to do with the actual relationship. When a client feels an emotional connection to the therapist, positive or negative, that has nothing to do with the actual relationship. Integrity, transference, countertransference, dual relationships. So our test-taking strategy, we read the question twice, we eliminate one wrong answer. All right, let's eliminate a wrong answer. When a client feels an emotional connection to the therapist, positive or negative, that has nothing to do with the actual therapist, it is not integrity. No. All right, let's look in the chat. Let's see what we got. Very good, Brianne, yes. CJ, yes. Jeffrey, good. Diane, good. Yes. Genesis, hi. Lily, yes. Maya, yes. Kadeem, good. Sharita, yep. Roxanne, Patience, Ingrid, yeah. Marcia, Petithia, yeah. McKaylee, good. Brenda, yes. Allegra, hello. Yep. You were not tricked. Good. Best answer? Transference. Yes, when a client feels an emotional connection to the therapist, positive or negative, that has nothing to do with the therapist, with the actual relationship, what's happening is transference. When you know someone before you give them a massage. When you know someone before you give them a massage. It's your in-laws. It's time for friends and family discounts. Better take the moral high road. Dual relationships. When you know someone before you give them a massage. Let's get rid of one wrong answer. Hmm. Seems that I have edited this question incorrectly. So let's go ahead and I will tell you the answer. Let's go ahead and look in the chats. You guys all got it. We just talked about it. Yeah, it's supposed to be a sneak in question. All right, Genesis, you got it. Brienne nailed it. Okay, where am I? Yes. Diane, you got it. Maya, yes. Lily, good. Good, CJ. Yes, Kadeem. Marcia, yep. Patience, yep. Ingrid, Petithia, good. Christy, yep. Sharita, excellent. Jeffrey, got it. Candace, good. Roxanne, Michaela, good. You were very quick, guys. And Brenda, yeah. Best answer here is dual relationships. Yep, dual relationships. So letter D, dual relationships. You got it. Okay. Maintaining SOAP or progress notes for each client session is a part of which standard of practice? Read them all. Careful. Maintaining SOAP notes or progress notes for each client session is a part of which practice? A, business practices. B, prevention of sexual misconduct. C, confidentiality. D, roles and boundaries. All right, we're going to get rid of one wrong answer. Doesn't have anything to do with sexual misconduct. Okay. Ooh, you got 14 answers. Ooh, you guys got it. Good. Sharita, good. Diane, good. Brienne, yes, good. Maya, you got it. Candace, yeah. Lily, good. Marcia, Kadeem, Patience, good. Roxanne, Ingrid, Jeffrey, Petithia, yeah. Christy, good. Good, good, good. None of you got tricked by this one. Best answer? Letter A, business practices. This is a part of, remember we talked about this, right? It's part of business practices. It's not part of confidentiality. This is the part where you maintain your records. This is not saying anything about sharing them. So good distinction. Good distinction. Good. Michaela coming in. Yep, good. All right. Next question. Independent contractors receive a tax document in the first quarter of each tax year. What is that document called? So independent contractors receive a tax document in the first quarter of each tax year. What is that document called? W-2, 1020, I-9, 1099. W-2, 1020, I-9, 1099. These are all actual documents that you may interact with, but only one has to do with independent contractors. Let's get rid of one wrong answer. Got it already. 13 people answered. So it's not an I-9. An I-9 is the thing you fill out when you first become an employee and they ask you for your ID. Yeah. All right, let's check the chat. And bada bing. Yes, yes, CJ, good. Diane got it. Maya, yes. Kadeem. Marcia, Sharita. Nobody's answering incorrectly today. I love it. Brienne. Roxanne, yes. Lily. Candace. Petithia. Christy, yes. Jeffrey, yes. Brenda got it. Michaela, yes. Patience, you got it. All right. Best answer. Yes, the 1099. The 1099, that is what you get as an independent contractor. Yes, the W-2 is what you get as an employee. Yes, good. All right. That is it for today. You have just crossed the finish line for this study session. Yes, and you have a bigger finish line that you are looking to cross as well. That bigger finish line of passing the MBLEx. And what's so crazy is that the finish line, it's also the starting line. Yeah. So great work today on a topic that is kind of boring. I wouldn't say it's boring. I say that sometimes, and it's not really true. It's interesting. It's just a lot of words, and it's a lot of thinking, right? It's a lot of deciphering what is ethical behavior. And so we're super clear on what it is as far as being a licensed massage therapist. So thanks so much for being here today. I'm going to hang out for about 15 minutes after class to answer the questions that came up in the chat and any that you have regarding your program. I'll remind you that my name is Jody Scholes. I am your instructor for the MBLEx review course. So glad that you have been here. Thanks so much for being here with us and studying with us. We'll see you again real soon.